gantā न गच्छति tāvad agantā naiva gacchati anyo gantur agantuś tṛtīyo hi gacchati.
Gantā न gacchati tāvad agantā naiva gacchati anyo gantur agantuś tṛtīyo gacchati. MMK chapter 2 verse 8. The text I'm using is a little different from that used on bodhisvara.com in a couple of respects. The first pada, gantā na gacchate tāvad. Te is an older form than classical Sanskrit. Classical Sanskrit, third person singular of gam is gacchati, but this is gacchate. And later scribes changed it, but Anne MacDonald perceived that, in fact, if you changed it, it went against the meter. So the old texts that preserved the gacchate were actually correct, and it's a kind of a red flag how sometimes later scribes, on the basis of imperfect understanding, made changes that they thought were improvements, but in fact were mistakes. And then in the fourth pada, the recitation by Kashinat Nyalpane says tṛtīyo hi gacchati, and the amended text has tṛtīyo gacchati. A goer right now does not go. A non-goer most certainly does not go. What third one then, being different from the goer and the non-goer, does go? So like the previous verse, this ends in a question, but whereas in the previous verse the question is rhetorical. How on earth will there be a goer? I think the point of that is there is no such thing as a non-empty goer. In this verse, what third one is there? What third one does go? I think I take that more as an open question, which I'll discuss in a minute. But first, let's go through it from the English. A goer, gantā. Right now, tāvad. Does not go. Na gacchate. So this mirrors the first line of the first verse that says, what does it say? Gatam na gamyate tāvad. The gone, the already visited, is not visited right now. So this says gantā na gacchate tāvad. A goer right now does not go. A non-goer, agantā, most certainly does not. Naiva, gacchati. He goes. So agantā, naiva, gacchati. A non-goer most certainly does not go. And in the first line of the first verse we had agantā, agatam, naiva, gamyate. So the not gone to, the not yet visited, the future. Agatam naiva, again naiva, not emphatically, gamyate, is visited. So agatam naiva gamyate, the not yet visited is most certainly not visited. And this says agantā naiva gacchati, a non-goer most certainly does not go. So we're back on the subject-verb, the negation of the subject-verb model again. So in our habitual thinking, wherein the power of now, the all-important here and now, is all-powerful, in that thinking, I here and now act. A goer, like me, here and now goes. That's how people think about the Buddhist philosophy of action, the Buddhist teaching of action. It means I, right now, act. But what Nagarjuna is saying here is a goer, right now, does not go. And the point is that the conception of me as a separate person, a psychophysical unity, performing an action, so subject, verb, he's negating that whole way of thinking. And then agantā, naiva, gacchati, a non-goer most certainly does not go. That's obvious. But then the question, what third one then? So what is kaha? Ka means what or who. Third one is tṛtīyo. So tṛtīyo means third. Tṛtīyaha is nominative singular masculine. So what third man? What third one? And kaha, so then is ata. And tṛtīyaha plus ata with sandhi goes to tṛtīyo tā. And so what third one then? Kaha, tṛtīyaha, ata with sandhi goes to kas tṛtīyo tā. What third one then? Kas tṛtīyo tā. Being different, anyaha. So anyaha is nominative singular masculine, agreeing with kaha, tṛtīyaha. So anyaha is different, other. And anya is a very interesting word in Ashvaghosha's poetry. So I'll discuss that again when we come to consider the whole meaning of the question. So anya means being different or being other. And it takes the ablative. So different from the goer is anyo, gantur. So anyaha with sandhi before gan goes to anyo. And gantuhu is ablative of gantra, the goer. So different from the goer is anyo, gantuhu. And different from the non-goer is anyo, agantuhu. So anyaha, agantā, agantuhu, without sandhi. So with sandhi together, being different from the goer and the non-goer, anyo, gantur, agantuś, cha and. So anyo, being different, gantur, from the goer, agantuś, from the non-goer, cha and. And then, so the whole question, what third one then, kas tṛtīyo tā, being different from the goer and the non-goer, anyo, gantur, agantuś, cha, does go, gacchati, does go. Anyo, gantur, agantuś, cha, kas tṛtīyo tā, gacchati. What third one then, being different from the non-goer, what third one then, being different from the goer and the non-goer, does go? So if we take this as a rhetorical question, it's saying there is no one who goes, not an existent goer and not a non-existent non-goer. So how can there be another one who's different from the goer and the non-goer who does go? So the point being, there is no non-empty being who performs an action, who does go. But as I said before, anya for me is a very interesting word in Aśvaghosa's teaching, because he uses it a lot to suggest. So if he's talking about the women, the generic women of the palace, like when the Bodhisattva is escaping from the palace, and he describes this quite grotesque scene of women who were beautiful lying around in all kinds of irregular poses, and he says anya woman was doing this, another woman anya was doing that, and I think below the surface what Aśvaghosa is doing is parodying all the different individuals that you will get sitting in zazen together. So when we think about it, how was it back in Aśvaghosa's day? You know, you kind of tend to think of all these generic ancient monks, you know, sitting there without individuality, you know, just a sort of a big group of monks, ancient monks, reciting the old sutras and so on. But the reality of it must have been, even in those days, there would have been colourful individuals. Some were more attached than others to their morning gruel. You'd have fat ones and thin ones, and you know, in our thoughts they would have all had nice, straight, symmetrical postures. But in fact, you'd have had people who had rickets when they were little. You would have had people who were sort of more slumped, and on the opposite side, people who made a big effort to sit more upright. You know, you'd have had people who had varying degrees of twist, depending on how well integrated their asymmetric tonic neck reflexes was. So I think he's pointing to that situation when he says anya. Anya, in other words, means different from what you think, different from your easy conceptions of how things are. You know, so similarly, what does a Zen master look like? You know, you probably, our stereotypical conceptions are one thing, but when you actually meet somebody who's a real teacher, they've got all kind of individual defects, failings, characteristics. So again, in Shobo Genzo, there's a chapter called Butsu Kojo no Ji, which means the matter of Kojo, going up beyond, Butsu, Buddha. Butsu Kojo no Ji means the matter of going up beyond Buddha. And for me, that's interesting in terms of Alexander work, because Alexander work is all very much about going up, and it's about going up in such a way. See, Alexander teachers are really individuals. Alexander called his second book Constructive Conscious Control of the Individual. And somebody said, that's a bit of a mouthful, FM. Why don't you drop the of the individual for a saving of 3 words and just have constructive conscious control? And Alexander said, no, don't you see, that's the most important part of the individual. So again, this to me relates to Jordan Peterson's interpretation of the Pinocchio story, when the blue fairy says, be brave, be truthful, be unselfish. So being brave and truthful has a lot to do with being who the hell you are, you know. I was listening to Nile Rodgers yesterday on the radio talk about how he made how he come to make the song I'm Coming Out. He went to the gents' toilets and there were 3 Diana Ross impersonators lined up along the urinal, and he was working with Diana Ross at the time, and so he realised she was a gay icon. And so one of the nice things about the story is Nile Ross said those really big hits that he made, they didn't come from him. they kind of came, it was like they're now being visited, actually. He was visited by something that was going on. So Anya's got to do with that. Be brave, be truthful. Be brave enough to be who you really are as an individual. It has that meaning. And it includes, tidy up your room, sort yourself out, put your own house in order before you want to try and put the world right. So those things are to do with being brave and being truthful. But then the irony is that kind of effort leads in the end to being useful to other people, to being unselfish. So it's in Dogen's terms, it's to learn the Buddha's truth is to learn the self. To learn the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to drop off body and mind. So that's what we can't understand that. We can't really understand that kind of action. We can understand what it's not. See, for me, it's very clear that action is not making a big effort to keep your spine straight by pulling the chin in. That much I really, really know from bitter experience, So you can understand where you went wrong. Again, this is I looked at Jewish history. That's why the Jews as a group have kept going in a good direction. Because when they went wrong, they went back. Where have we gone wrong? Again, I was looking at one of my favourite commentators in the media is Gideon Rachman of the Financial Times, and he often seems to be coming from a place of biblical wisdom. So yesterday he was reviewing what he got wrong, the predictions he'd made that he got wrong. Usually he was saying that the more pessimistic he was, the closer to the truth his predictions turned out, and the more optimistic predictions generally failed. And he said that, generally speaking, where he suspected nationalism would win out, there he proved to be right. So, coming back to the question, anyo gantur agantuś tṛtīyo gacchati. What third one then, being different from the goer and the non-goer, does go? So, if in our thoughts a goer exists or does not exist, those are the two views that the Buddha highlights in MMK chapter 15. It exists is shashvata drishti. The goer exists is shashvata drishti, the eternity view. Because if a goer exists as a non-empty thing, that goer is not susceptible to change. He or she is always going to be that goer. That's the eternity view. Now the opposite one is there is no goer. A goer does not exist. So in that case, the non-goer most certainly does not go. So that is the view of, that's ucheda drishti, the view of being cut off, the view of annihilation. So the Buddha said it exists is one extreme. It does not exist is the other extreme. The Buddha teaches madhyena, by the middle. The Buddha teaches by the middle. And if we're talking about suffering, which is the first example, one view is that suffering exists as an ever-present thing. The other view is it doesn't exist. Or it's easier to understand if we talk about the sort of political left and the political right. The left says suffering is caused, suffering exists, and it is caused by society. And the right wing say there is no suffering caused by society, but there's individual responsibility. So suffering comes from within. So what the Buddha teaches is something different from it exists and it does not exist. However you frame it, the Buddha's teaching is in the middle way between it exists and it doesn't exist. So there's a goer, there's no goer. But in the middle, is there a goer? Is there a third one? Or is there not? Is it, in our thoughts, it's easy to say, there is no goer, everything is empty. So the answer is, there is no subject of going. But how true is that? How true is that? I don't exist. I don't go as a separately existing goer. That's true. And as a non-goer, most certainly I don't go. But is there a third possibility? Is there a third possibility that something is going? So I think it's an open question. And the point again is we can't understand what the right thing is. We can't understand what action is. We can't understand what it is for the right thing to do itself in the absence of samskaras, when there's a non-coming into being of samskaras, when action springs up, going back to pratyaya, going back to causes. We can't understand what's going on there. But we can understand where we went wrong. I went to a school, the headmaster was called Ronald Lunt, Reverend Ronald Lunt, and he was famous every so often. He would stand up on his sort of wooden throne called Saptientia, wisdom, and address what they called big school, or the whole school. And he would say, what are we here for? That was the question. He was famous for asking, what are we here for? So I would ask Nishijima Sensei the similar question in my 20s, what are we here for? And his answer was, we're here to practice Zazen and teach others. Practice Zazen and teach others is the task. Teach others what, though? Teach others what? The reason I came back to England to train as an Alexander technique teacher was because I realised that teaching others to do this was not what I wanted to devote my life to. So, as an Alexander teacher, you can't teach anybody to go in the right direction. So again, in a similar kind of way, I asked Marjorie Barlow, although not in so many words, what are we here for? What is the task of an Alexander technique teacher? And Marjorie would say, every lesson should give the pupil a little bit more understanding as to the meaning of those words, those orders, she called them, the verbal orders. To let the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen, sending the knees forwards and away. So as I'm sitting here in full lotus, I'm sending my knees forwards, out of the hips, and away, out of the hips. Away means away from each other. What it really means is allowing the legs out of the pelvis, not pulling the legs into the body and cramping everything up. Sending the knees forwards and away releases the pelvis, releases the hips, and it helps the breathing because the diaphragm, the roots of the diaphragm go down and they kind of interdigitate with the muscles of the iliopsoas muscles, which are the ones that pull the legs into the pelvis. I don't want to get too anatomical because that's a false path, but the point is all together, one after the other, to let the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up. So Marjorie would say very clearly she hated the directions to be garbled. Neck for the head forward, not back to length. No. Let the neck be free to let the head go forward, not back, not pulling back, forward. So you can't do head forward. Well, you can do it like that, but that's forward and down. So you can't do forward and up, forward and up. But just because you can't do it is no excuse for not being clear about it. You want the head to go forward, not be pulled back, and you want the head to go up. So it's leading the spine to lengthen. You don't want the head to go down, so it's compressing the spine. Let the neck be free to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen, or to let the spine lengthen and the back widen. Sometimes you hear Alexander teachers say, let the spine lengthen and widen, which is not the direction, because the spine is a lengthening structure. It's not built to widen. You want the spine to lengthen and the whole of the back to widen. That widening not being a two-dimensional widening, but a more spiralic. The spiral musculature releases, you get a lengthening and a widening, sending the knees forwards and away. So, in a sense, those directions make you into the third one. They make you who you truly are, actually. They make you go in the direction that you want to go, that nature intended you to go. So you're a third one who is neither the goer, the habitual goer, or a non-goer. So, having given those directions, you go into action. Maybe it's like giving the directions is, in a sense, preparing to be the third one, who's different from the goer and the non-goer. I'm commenting this totally on the hoof. I hadn't thought of this before I started commenting on it. But you can say it like this. There's the habitual goer, the person who, in the past, when they move the leg, when they perform the action of lying on the table with the knees bent and then straightening out one leg, you could say the habitual goer would be the one who tensed a little bit, kind of held everything, tightened the wrists, tightened the throat, and sort of stopped breathing and lifted the leg and put it out. That would be the habitual way of going into movement. And the non-goer is the person who, when the teacher gives them the stimulus, now move your leg, just blanks the teacher out. Some people are good at that. But that's not the point. The point is not just totally blank the teacher's instruction out and just keep on giving directions. Working on yourself means giving directions and going into movement. So then, what is the third one? Who, being different from the goer and the non-goer, does go? Well, that question can't be answered in words. It can't be answered in thoughts. But is there a third one who's different from the goer who is thought and the non-goer who is thought, or different from the habitual goer and different from the one for whom nothing is doing? See, Marjorie Barlow used to quote her husband, Bill Barlow, who say non-doing is different from nothing doing. So there's habitual doing, there's running around like a blue-ass fly, and then there's nothing doing, which is just collapsing on the sofa and watching TV and slumping. So non-doing doesn't mean that. Non-doing means allowing the right thing to do itself, allowing to take place the action which is beyond our understanding. The action that springs up depending on pratyaya, depending on causal grounds. So that's the question, I think, that Marjorie Barlow, in a sense, was asking me. What third one then, being different from the goer and the non-goer, does go? And to answer that question, it's important, lesson by lesson, that the teacher is there to deepen the pupil's understanding of what those words mean. Those words will take you in the right direction, which in the first instance is being brave enough to be fully who you truly are. And then you become the third one, who's neither the doer nor the non-doer. The third one is there in the now being visited, you could say, where there is a way to go. Gantā gacchate tāvad, agantā naiva gacchati, anyo gantur agantuś tṛtīyo gacchati.
gantā na gacchati tāvad, agantā naiva gacchati, anyo gantur agantuś tṛtīyo gacchati.